Radio 101 with Robin Trower and his second album, Bridge of Sighs, and True Rolling Stone. And we have a fortunate experience. Robin Trower's in the studio. Say hello so they know you're here.
Hello.
Well, Robin used to be lead guitar with Procol Harum, of course, and is now on his own. 2 records on Chrysalis. There was a tremendous void left by Hendrix when he departed, and the initial cries of rip-off that you endured very well have turned to admiration in the sense that you can fill that void. It takes a hell of a lot of taste to use the sustain and taste you do on guitar. Now, how do you feel about the comparison to Jimi Hendrix?
Well, I think it's inevitable, in as much as I've been very influenced by him. I feel there's a lot more depth. You know, where he was a very humorous, sort of light-hearted musician, I don't feel myself to be that. I feel, that mine is a much sort of deeper mood that I play in,
Yeah, it's obvious, too, in the recordings. I want to ask you a question for the musicians listening. You do use a Fender Stratocaster, don't you?
Yes, I do play that, yeah.
You mentioned to me earlier about the guitar. Why don't you rap about that guitar?
Well, the Fender, I find to be the hardest electric guitar to play.
In what terms, like the neck or the what?
It's just a much more rigid type of guitar for bending and sustaining and things. But once you do get control of it, it is definitely the only electric guitar, because it was, I believe, when it was first designed, it was sort of 20, 30 years ahead of its time.
Right.
Really.
Has a tremendous variation of tone.
I think that its greatest quality is that it's a very musical instrument for an electric instrument.
It reminds me a great deal of a Moog at times, the sustain and tone.
It has a tremendous range of capabilities if you can control it.
Yeah.
It's first controlling it is the difficult thing, I think.
And you do, too. I've been told, I'm about to see you tonight at the warehouse, and I'll be there with bells on, that you control it extremely well. There's a great deal of trouble with like the feedback and whatnot, but you somehow just rise above that. It's really great.
It is an art in itself, I can assure you, but thank you very much for the compliment.
You deserve it. The slow bending of the note, what appears to be a vibrato, is that electronic, or do you do that with a vibrato?
That is you do that with your finger, actually. That is
the whole chord?
More than one note, I think you have to use a vibrato arm, yes.
How long have you been playing in terms of years?
I think it must be about 12, 13 years now, I should think.
And one more technical question for those people into that. What type of amplifiers do you use on stage in the studio to get that sound?
I use a combination of Marshall amplifiers and Fender speakers, and Marshall speakers, a combination of those things.
Who writes most of the material on the albums?
I do, yeah.
All of it?
Most of it. Jimmy helps me out on lyrics, and on the first album he wrote a lot of the lyrics, in fact, but I tended to take over a bit more.
And he sings?
Album. Jimmy's the vocalist, yeah.
Yeah, obviously it takes a great deal of confidence in somebody to let him express the vocals in your music, eh?
Well, he's got such a great voice, and he's so into what I'm into, that it works very well. He's a very good partner.
What's the next album? Are you working on it right now?
Yeah, I'm busy writing it at the moment.
You're not recording yet, then?
No, we've sort of dabbled with a couple of things, but nothing serious. We haven't really seriously started recording yet.
The first album, twice removed from yesterday. The second, Bridge of Sighs. Is there a title for the third one?
No, I haven't got a title for it yet.
I notice every title is from one of the cuts on the album. Will that continue?
Yes, I think it probably will, yes.
Are you disappointed to this point that there are no singles off the album, or don't you care?
Well, I have asked specifically for them not to release a single off the album.
You have?
To be honest, yes.
I recall Led Zeppelin refusing to release Stairway to Heaven for some reason. Personal, I imagine. Same thing, eh?
Yeah.
What studio do you record in, or where do you record the next album in?
Well, the next album we're going to record at Abbey Road.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who's going to produce it?
Matthew's going to produce the next one.
Fisher?
Yeah.
He's produced both the albums so far.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Excellent, too.
Yeah. The last album we did at Air London, George Martin's studio, and we had the Beatles' old engineer who did Sgt. Pepper and all the other stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And we're trying to take him to Abbey Road with us, if we can, to get the combination, of the studio and the engineer.
That's great. How do you feel about going on before Slade and Brownsville Station? I'll put you on the spot right now.
How do I feel about it? I don't like it very much, to be honest. You know, I'd rather be at least in the middle spot, but because it's, you know, I don't like going on first before anybody, because it's a cold, you know, it's a cold audience you're going on to, and I find it harder to get into it myself, you know, if I've got to warm the audience up first, you know.
Here's a difficult question. Do you see your music going in any particular different direction, or are you going to explore what you're into some more?
I think a bit of each, really. I think I'm still exploring what I'm into at the moment, but I'm also trying to sort of spread out as much as possible now, you know.
Listening to your albums and the way you sustain notes and use taste and whatnot, I can't help but think that eventually you'll get into electronic synthesizer and whatnot, into Moog. Is that true?
No, I don't think so, because I've an aversion to electronic instruments, even the electric organ, really. I like to have a little bit more control over the instrument, you know, than you can get out of a keyboard. Any kind of keyboard.
Was Gary Brooker and his obviously super influence in Procol Harum, was he one of the reasons you left? Was there any personal reasons involved?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I think it's purely a musical thing, you know, that I'd really come to the end of the road as far as being able to fit in Procol. That's all, you know, because it was limiting me into a very narrow position, because having two keyboards in the band, you know, there doesn't leave a lot of room, and I didn't want to try and bend them over to my way too much, because I think that would have been against their sort of, you know, that wasn't what Gary was into, you know, and Gary was into his own thing, you know, so I thought it'd be better all round if I left, you know, and I started doing my thing, and he got back into doing his thing totally, you know, rather than sort of doing it 50-50, where I was writing half the stuff and he was writing half the stuff. You know?
Yeah, right. Okay, this is Sonny Fox interviewing Robin Trower, and we'll be back after this word. Don't go away. Radio 101, and Robin Trower from his second album, Bridge of Sighs and Day of the Eagle. Robin's in the studio with us this afternoon. I'm Sonny Fox, and we were rapping during this record about the methods you use in the studio, what goes down. Why don't you rap that down to people?
Yeah, I was just saying that, well, you asked if it was an earlier take, if it was always the sort of one or two takes that we got down on.
Yeah.
But what we usually do is we sort of jam for a half an hour, however long it takes to get the sound that they want in the control room. You know, like a drum sound usually takes quite a while.
Do you do the song you're going to record, or you do something?
No, we just jam on something, you know, and we warm ourselves up that way, and they get the sound. And then when it's time to do the song, we usually try and get the, you know, we sort of go in it like that is the performance, you know, the first one, and usually it takes two or three, but you know, it's usually in the first four where you get that performance. And sometimes you get some nice things come out, like that guitar playing that was at the end of Day of the Eagle there was just a jam, you know. It wasn't meant to be, it wasn't arranged or anything, you know, and as it happens, it's my favourite piece of guitar playing that I've got on record of mine anyway.
That particular song?
The end of that song where it slows down.
Is it a case of like not wanting to quit, so you just
that was more or less it. It just, you know, it was, in actual fact, it was edited down for a much, much longer thing. It was a hell of a long thing.
I'll ask you a couple of really typical questions for those people who'd like to know. Two questions. Are you married, and how old are you?
I'm married, and I'm 27.
Any children at all?
Yes.
Oh, yeah? Are they musically inclined, or?
No, they're not old enough to. Yeah.
Not tapping toes or anything?
No.
What do you think of the influence that Tangerine Dream and Mike Oldfield is bringing to music without vocals, strictly mood music, mind music? Do you think it's going to grow, increase?
Oh, I think that music's always been there, but in different forms. You know, I think jazz has always been fulfilling that sort of part of the music scene. You know, I think it's just never been paid much attention to before. It's been brought into sort of a rock idiom now, I think that's why it's getting more exposure and becoming more important.
Then you don't think that rock and roll as we know it is going to eventually, with the increasing awareness of the public, disappear?
No, I think there'll always be a need for popular music, and popular music will always be simple, direct songs with words about things people understand. I think that there'll always be that popular form of music, and obviously there'll be new forms coming along as well, but the most popular will always be the simpler type of thing.
An example would be country music, I suppose.
So that's a very good example of popular music.
How would you classify your music? Where are the roots coming from in this?
Well, definitely I feel that all my roots are blues, rhythm and blues, and some soul music.
It's sort of super amplified rhythm and blues.
Oh yes, I don't call it rhythm and blues what we do, but that is where it's coming from, definitely. Because I've never listened to anything else.
Do you, the album I noticed has sort of a surreal yin-yang on the cover. Who did that?
A friend of mine from San Francisco who lives in London now. He goes by the name of Funky Paul.
Oh, yeah.
And he's a great artist, actually. In actual fact, the painting is a lot nicer than the cover. They didn't reproduce it very well on the cover. But it's a beautiful painting, really. He's already done the next cover, in fact.
He's done all three of them, right?
Yeah.
I'm Sonny Fox, and I thank Robin Trower very much for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
I'm sure the third album will surpass the second one in sales and just pure everything.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.